going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. Just to touch on Bitcoin and cryptos really quick. Do not get scared, guys. I already told you that we were going to head lower. Some of you believe in me, some of you don't. But those who've been with me from the beginning know. The Crypto Teacher knows. Now, with this video here, guys, we're going over the Janet Yellen and Powell testimony again. And what comes up, that's right, special drawing rights. It came up yesterday and today. And we know that China and Russia are going to benefit from these SDRs. And we know that what happens, the Chinese digital yuan is going to be that global stable coin backed by digital SDRs. And remember, the Crypto Teacher advised you, and those who have my book already know. And then plus, guys, we see the repo facilities are going to be closing on the 31st. We're going to watch Janet Yellen a chess piece to see whether she pushed through Congress some new repos. But we know for right now, liquidity is going to start to shrink. We know that Janet Yellen has her trillion to manipulate yields. And we know the Fed has $1.5 trillion in its back pocket to manipulate yields. But we know for right now, liquidity is going to shrink. Because remember, when it comes to the New World Order, everything is planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Biden administration's plan, and it is your plan, to require the IMF to issue $1 trillion of these SDRs, new SDRs, is going to cost the American taxpayer about $180 billion. Now, your reason for doing that is a good reason. You say you want to help poor countries. But you and I both know that only about 10% of that money is going to go to poor countries. It's not going to help poor countries. It's going to help? If they cash in their SDRs, it's going to help China. It's going to help Russia. It's going to help Venezuela. And besides that, under your plan, you're intentionally splitting the plan into two tranches of $500 billion each to avoid having to come before Congress. And I don't understand why it is efficient to charge the American taxpayer $180 billion, all of which we have to borrow, and you say you're doing it to help poor countries, and only 10% is going to poor countries, and even more is going to Russia and to China.
I'm sorry, it's not going to cost the taxpayer $180 billion.
Sure it is. You're going to have to borrow the money. You don't have the money sitting in a checking account.
The IMF.
They're going to redeem those SDRs, not just the poor countries, but China.
There are many countries that can provide hard currencies in return for SDRs, including the United States. If the United States does agree to provide SDRs, it will have to issue treasury bills or debt to do it, but it will
I
also
rest my
earn,
case.
it will,
I rest
no,
my case.
I'm sorry, but it will also earn interest on any amounts that it converts on behalf of other countries, and it will be essentially a wash.
But the money will
So
never
it
be
will
paid
borrow
back.
and it will pay. It does. There is no money to be paid back. It
Sure.
doesn't matter. The interest that we earn on any excess SDR holdings offsets the cost of issuing treasuries, and it's essentially a wash, and it is not costly.
I disagree with you, Madam Secretary. I think I'm no disrespect, but I think you're wrong. I think we're going to have to borrow all $180 billion of this.
I don't know where you got a number like that from.
Well, when China comes to redeem its SDRs and says we want dollars, where do you think we're going to get the money? We're going to borrow it. I've gone over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but this is an important issue. I'll call you, Madam Secretary.
Okay, I'd be glad to talk about it offline.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Must not use this pandemic as an excuse to permanently increase the size and role of the federal government. Congress certainly made this clear for the CARES Act emergency lending facilities. These facilities were established to stabilize turbulent credit markets so that households, businesses, states, municipalities could access credit. The intent was clear. The facilities funded by the CARES Act were to be temporary, to provide liquidity, and to cease operations no later than the end of 2020. These facilities were extremely successful in achieving their intended purposes of restoring liquidity in the private capital markets. And in the December COVID relief bill, Congress ensured that these facilities would in fact be wound down by the year end, as Congress had intended and the law required. They cannot be restarted or replicated in the future without congressional approval. In addition to Congress's swift response, the Fed's response last spring was massive and played a crucial role in our ongoing economic recovery. But, as is the case with Congress, the Fed also must fight the urge to continue this response beyond its original purpose. Last March, the Fed lowered interest rates to nearly zero and initiated a record expansion of its balance sheet. This accommodation has remained, and by both official forecasts and market expectations, it's going to continue well beyond the point of full recovery. And that raises at least two concerns. First concern is that the Fed's increased footprint is almost a permanent feature. And if this is the case and there's no eventual reduction in the size of the portfolio, then the Fed's quantitative easing to date would amount to a monetization of government debt. And I certainly hope that that's not the case. The second concern is that such an accommodative stance leaves our economy vulnerable to inflation. The Fed has signaled that its dovish monetary policy is here for a very long time. Its March summary of economic projections doesn't forecast any rate hikes until 2024 at the earliest, and the Fed appears to have no plans in place for reducing its monthly securities purchases. Given the current economic recovery and the recent increases in commodity prices, inflation expectations, and Fed communications, I do worry that the Fed may be behind the curve when inflation inevitably picks up.